Hey guys, what's going on? It's Spider-Man 6 here, and today I'm going to be talking about the Battlefield patch that came out a couple of days ago for PlayStation 3. I believe it came out just today or so for the Xbox 360, and also a couple of days ago for the PC. So this patch is a super big patch. I think my download was about 1.6 gigabytes, so that's a pretty big patch for, you know, a first-person shooter, even one that's as big as Battlefield 3. But we'll get right into it. This will only be a pretty brief overview of it. I won't go in depth on, you know, particular things this video. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is the renter server function for consoles that came with this patch. So obviously the PC already had renter server. This is for the PS3 and Xbox. So basically what renter server does is it allows you to pretty much rent a server off of DICE or EA and change the rules. And what's really cool about this is that yes, you can do it as a private match, but you can also change some of the rules and it's still a ranked match. You can change, you know, map rotation and all that stuff. So if you just want to play Operation Metro, then you can either rent your own server and make it just Operation Metro, or you can, you know, find there's many servers out there that are, you know, 24/7 Metro. You can make it, you know, change the game mode, change the amount of tickets or lives in team deathmatch, all that stuff you can change, and it's still a ranked server. Although, just a heads up for anybody who has a server or is thinking about getting one, you can't actually ban people or kick people for using specific weapons in your server. Even though, you know, you've rented the server, it's still a ranked server, which means people like, according to DICE and EA, people should be able to, you know, rank up and unlock with any weapon or gadget or whatever they choose to. So, you know, if USAS 12 frag rounds still annoy you for some reason after the patch, even though they've been nerfed, then you can't just ban people who use them, because if they report you, then DICE will take your server away and you will not get a refund. So just be aware of that if you have a server or are thinking about getting a server and might want to restrict people from using specific weapons. If you're going to do that, you have to make your server unranked, which means you don't level up and you don't, you know, you don't gain points and whatnot for actually playing. So that it's not really a patch update per se, it's more a back-end update, but I still think it's pretty cool, especially since I don't really know of many games that do that on consoles. I know a few other EA games, a few other Battlefield games do it on PC, but this is the first one I've really heard of that does it on consoles. So I just think that's really cool. But the next thing, one of the main things of the game, obviously, is the weapons and the attachments that have pretty much all been rebalanced. Now, the important thing to remember here is that most of the weapons are not ridiculously different. If you take a base weapon pre-patch with no attachments on it, and you take a base weapon with no attachments on it post-patch, they are basically the same. The difference is mainly in the attachments, because you can see pre-patch that everybody was using foregrip and suppressor on the assault rifles and on carbines and stuff. So even though, you know, people might not be like, oh, that's overpowered, the simple fact is 99% of people were using those attachments, and for a game that has so much focus on unlocking and using different attachments, it's just ridiculous for that to happen. So they've, you know, tweaked the foregrip and tweaked the suppressor, and, you know, buffed the flash suppressor, and also fixed a few problems that the Vipod has, just to encourage, you know, more variety in between class setups and just a greater gap, and yeah, basically just a bigger variety for people who have different playstyles, obviously. But the main thing I want to say about this is that the foregrip still does its job. Overall, you still get increased accuracy using the foregrip. It's just not as much as pre-patch. And the suppressor, you still get a recoil reduction for the suppressor, but once again, it's just not as you know, as big or as great as an advantage that you got pre-patch. But me personally, I don't really care. In this video that you're watching now, I am using the foregrip and suppressor as well as the red dot sight, and as you can see, my gun's still pretty accurate, and, you know, it's not ridiculous. And for me anyway, I use the suppressor to be suppressed. That's why I use it. I don't use it as a recoil dampener. So I will still use the suppressor, you know, even if there wasn't a recoil bonus, just because That's what I do. I run the suppressor on everything, no matter pretty much what game it is or why I'm doing it. I just run suppressor. So, you know, if you don't want to run suppressor, or if you ran suppressor just for the recoil, you know, the lessened recoil, then you should probably go over flash suppressor. They have buffed that, but the suppressor still acts as a suppressor, which is, for me at least, the main thing that a suppressor should do. But you know, whatever you want to do. But as a result of this, this tweak of the attachments and the weapons, most of the weapons now have increased recoil, so basically it's harder to control. But I don't think it's that ridiculous. Alright, the first Battlefield game I got into actually playing, as in playing to win matches and actually being good at, was Battlefield Bad Company 2, and that game had ridiculously bigger recoil than this game does, even post-patch. Alright, so I'm used to burst firing and stuff. It's not as ridiculous as whiners on the forums will have you believe. If you cannot hit somebody post-patch, it is because you suck. Sorry to say that, but if you cannot hit somebody, it's because you suck. A lot of people aren't realizing the fact that they are in a multiplayer game. Just because your weapon has increased recoil, it also means, believe it or not, their weapon has increased recoil as you as well. The game is still the same for both parties. You can't not have the patch and play. The fact is, if you get into a one-on-one gunfight and you lose, either he had the better weapon for that situation, e.g. a shotgun in close range or whatever, or he's just better than you, or it lagged. It's one of those three things, and most of the time it's because he's better than you. So just remember that, and that sort of follows into what I'm going to say in this next little segment here about suppression. Right, suppression, something that didn't really affect you pre-patch and affects you a lot post-patch. So basically, you know what suppression is. If, you know, bullets go around you, you get a blurred screen, and your recoil goes up, and your bullet spread goes up. Basically, just makes it hard to aim. Now, pre-patch, it didn't really do much. If you were a good player, you could still just aim and shoot the guy in the face. Post-patch, however, you will probably die. Now, I'm not saying that... Okay, this is what I'm trying to say here. I'm not saying that this was the best fix, and I'm not saying that suppression was broken beforehand. I'm just saying that now they have a range to go in. Alright, pre-patch, there wasn't enough suppression. It didn't really do anything. Post-patch, there is too much suppression. It does too much. Now they have a range which they can go in, sort of go into, you know, and actually tweak the game rather than trying to fix everything. They can tweak it in between the range. The same goes for the vehicles. You know, pre-patch, especially on consoles where there's only 12 other people, pre-patch, tanks could pretty much sit on the flag and just take RPGs like a boss. But post-patch, it's only, you know, 1 or 2 RPGs to disable, and then 1 or 2 X-shot to destroy, depending on where you're aiming from. Once again, pre-patch, they were too strong. Post-patch, they're too weak. Now they actually have a range that they can aim at and tweak it to make it perfect. So, once again, pre-patch, I don't think they were overpowered. Post-patch, I still don't think they're ridiculously underpowered. It's just that they're not perfect. But now in the upcoming patches, hopefully for suppression before close quarters comes out, because otherwise it'll just be hip fire for the win. And hopefully by the time armor kill comes out, they will have perfected most of the game, including the vehicle armor and stuff. And this also goes for helicopters. One thing that I was sort of excited about before the patch, and now I see isn't the best change, is the one-hit kill RPG and small and tank shell to helis. Now, just using this technique, it's a bit ridiculous. They can just go boom, one shot and get a double kill in a heli. I do think it should be a one-shot kill, but not a one-shot instant kill. I think, you know, an RPG or small should do 90%, 80% damage, something like that, to get it well below the disable threshold. So, you know, they have maybe 5 seconds to get out, 10 seconds to get out, something like that. The instant kill is just a bit ridiculous. Leave the instant kill on jets for sure. If you're in a jet with a tank shell, then either he's driving straight at your turret like an idiot, or you're just a beast. So leave the jets as a one-shot kill, but their helis, their armor against those things needs to get buffed just a little bit. Not a two-shot kill again, just under the disable threshold is what I think. But there were a lot of good patches. Like I said, there were a lot of patches that sort of over-fix things rather than just tweaking them. But there were also a lot of good things that fix things that were broken, or weren't necessarily broken, but once again weren't perfect, and they actually did tweak them to make them perfect. These things are things like the minimap. You'll notice the minimap and the actual full map post-patch is far superior to the one pre-patch. It shows more clearly revives, people who need ammo, people who have ammo, you know, all that sort of stuff which you actually need to know rather than where is that tree. It's just a lot easier to see everything on the minimap. I don't know why they didn't just have that in the actual game. It's just so much better. You know, the minimap, the vaulting mechanic, I've noticed on a few of the things, like the stupid rails in the last base of Operation Metro, stuff like that has been fixed. You know, a lot of things, the MAV riding, the MAV road killing, all of that's basically gone. Used to have frag rounds. By the way, if you're wondering, trolls out there, the new troll gun to use is the Deo 12. It's not overpowered. Once again, it's just one of those things that isn't perfect. So if you're a troll, use the Deo 12 in Operation Metro. But frag rounds aren't. Frag rounds not the infrared scope. That's what I'm going to say about that. They're not nerfed into oblivion. They are now actually balanced. Like, I joined the game super late on Operation Metro, and I'm just like, you know what, you sass frag rounds. And I went 9 for 2 after only, you know, a couple of minutes playing. So, you know, it's not nerfed into oblivion for sure. It's still good at what it does, especially with the increased suppression. It actually does, you know, its role now, which was originally to suppress people. So I think that's really good. I think half the things in the patch, at least half of them, made things that were either broken fixed, or things that were not perfect, and the other 50% made things that were underpowered, overpowered, or overpowered, underpowered. Now, in and of itself, that might mean that the patch was bad, but going forward in the game, DICE can then use this info of, okay, before we did this, it was underpowered, after we did this, it was overpowered. We can now aim somewhere in the middle to make the game better overall in the future. Whether or not people stick around that long remains to be seen, but it is good that they have a regular DLC schedule, and it seems like they will be keeping with the same trend of, I think it's 4 or 5 maps, I can't even really remember, 4 maps I think, you know, 4 maps and then 10 new weapons. I think that's a really smart way to do it, as well as, you know, the new vehicles and stuff that come with those maps. Anyway guys, this has been just a quick little patch analysis thing. I might go, you know, more in depth into, you know, specifics of the patch, you know, things like suppression and vehicles and stuff. Might go more in depth into those things in later videos, but for now this is just a brief overview. I will see you guys later. If you like the video, at least please leave a comment. It you know, it helps me improve the channel, improve my videos, and just lets me know what you think of the thing. Even if you dislike it, by all means hit the dislike button, but then leave a comment telling me why, and I'll be sure to take it all into consideration. I will see you guys later. This has been Spider-Man 6. See ya.